Art and Aldo Mayoralgo. Thank you, RPG. My phone over here. Right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. Quick question. What schools are you from? Who's from UST, UP, other schools around the belt? If you, so today, before we start, thank you to Davies, thank you to UAPGA QC for inviting me here. Alright, the title of my talk is A Deep Conversation, and today I'm going to do something you might have not been able to do in a while, and my goal is more of giving you a different kind of perspective and sort of a reminder of some of the more profound things in life. So can everyone hear me in the back? Okay. Right. So I have around an hour to make you rethink your lives this very moment. And I guess I can start with the title. So when was the last time you had a deep conversation? So I'm not talking about the pleasantries you exchange at family gatherings. I'm not talking about the God level memes you talk about with your friends. I'm talking about the real deep back and forth exchanges of ideas you have with people. I talk about not only the surface mundane things, but the deeper things about identity, the deeper things about meaning. It's very hard to have this kind of conversation nowadays with our fast-paced lives. We know how it all is. The world is nothing but clickbait, those fast-paced impulses that beseech us every single second. Again, it's an age of clickbait where everybody wants your attention on the very surface, superficial level. We're bombarded with emails, we're bombarded with coordinations at every waking moment. And of course, we willingly engage in this through social media. So much so that, these are a couple of really great books that I suggest you guys read. So much so that our brains are actually changing based on the habitual ways that we use them. So that we are dabbling as skimmers of the very shallow waters of the internet and the world. And this talk is about, stop right now, thank you very much, and to go back and think about things that we tend to forget, the deep things in life, in the universe that really matter, before we come back to ourselves. So this talk seeks to go back a little bit and talk about the things the ancient Greeks talked about back then. Talk about bridging deep meanings, associations, and finding consonance between perspectives. And sort of thinking of the deeper, greater narratives that go through all of our lives. So you guys know this movie? I love this movie. All right. And so deep conversations with the right people are priceless, and I believe that every person can be the right person. We all have things that we can teach other people. And again, my perspective comes from my education in architecture and hypnotherapy. So I studied the cultural mind and the individual mind very deeply, so I've synthesized that a little bit here. And my goal is to give you a little bit of a red pill, because I believe that personal development isn't so much 10 great things you can do to be successful tomorrow, today. It's more of giving you a deep foundational framework of things that will drive you forward no matter what personal development package or technique you use. And so today, hopefully you will accept my red pill. And it will be quite a ride. I can tell you guys that we're going to cover a wide range of topics. So it's a deep conversation with a broad horizon of topics. I won't be able to go deeply into each individual one. But if you have any questions, if you want to learn more about it, because we won't be able to tackle everything, just ask me a question afterwards. I'll be happy to accommodate you. All right. For all this deep conversation jargon, we're really only going to be talking about three very simple questions. My talk is structured by answering three questions. How did we get to what we are, to where we are, sorry? Why do we feel bad, and how can we feel better? And the last two questions are prefaced by the overarching meaning in the first. So, how did we get to where we are? So right now we are very fixated in the fact that we live in this fast-paced metropolis that we tend to forget the beginnings of where we, the only animal that can ask the universe questions, came from. And we forget about the fact that the universe has this very deep history that operates at the scale of reality far beyond us. And I have a thinking tool from Carl Sagan, and it's called the cosmic calendar. So this will sort of be the structure of how we do the discourse today. So the cosmic calendar basically says this: if you imagine that the Big Bang was the first moment of January 1 in a year, and the absolute present moment right now is December 31, 23:59:59, so right before the next New Year. So that's the timeline, right? This is how the calendar would look like for that year. For the first 8 months, the main narrative of the cosmic calendar was just physics and chemistry. That was basically it. So the fundamental particles of reality came to being. The first planets came into existence, stars exploded and scattered their energy across the universe, so much so that all that we are, everything that we are, we're basically made out of stardust. And in this infinite universe, we tend to forget sometimes that this is essentially where we are, in one galaxy out of billions and billions and billions and billions. On the 9th month, a new narrative came into play, and we know this narrative to be called biology. And this is where the tree of life started, right? From this very small infinitesimal point, from little creatures we call bacteria, archaea, and the like. So everything operated at the scale of the very, very, very small this time. And the wonderful book I'd love to recommend is called The Tangled Tree by David Conant. And it basically says that for the first, from September to around December of the cosmic calendar, the main mode of life was just reproduction and horizontal gene transfer. So bacteria swapping genes and the like and reproducing. And this went on for billions and billions and billions of years. It was only on December 15 of the cosmic calendar that life as we know it started to come into play. So we had this thing called the Cambrian explosion, and it was only on December 15 that familiar little critters branched out from single-celled organisms, things like sponges, things like worms, all of that happened on December 15th. And after this, we know, well, we tend to know what happens. We can already imagine the fossil record starts to begin, and from this little Cambrian explosion, life starts to go to a more familiar degree. And we know that this was, of course, the time of the dinosaurs, 65 million years ago. And again, we tend to think of them as scaly, scary monsters, but some scholars dispute that they were a little bit even more feathery than we used to know. So feathery T-Rex. However, extinctions happened all throughout this big history. And there was this thing called the fifth extinction that wiped out the dinosaurs. Most agree that it was a meteor that came and made all these processes inhospitable for life. And it gives a very important perspective when you think about the fact that statistically over 99% of everything that has ever lived here on Earth has gone extinct. They no longer exist. So we are part of that 0.1% of species that have survived. Because when the dinosaurs died, well, lucky for us, us mammals, those little creatures over there, we took opportunity from this. It ended up to be our renaissance, so to speak. So after the fifth extinction and the age of reptiles was gone, it started to be the rise of mammals. So we're more familiar with this. We're more familiar with what happens next. The mammalian species, the 17 orders, started to come into a new light, rose on top of the food chain, and one little mammal, called Homo sapiens sapiens, basically stood atop all of that. Now, everything from January 1 until this point, December 13, the cosmic calendar, this was only the start of us, basically. And all that we're familiar with happens on December 31 of the cosmic calendar. This was the rise of man. From this large cosmic process, here we are today. We tend to forget sometimes that we are part of this wonderful, beautiful, majestic process, that chimpanzees are our closest living cousins, basically sharing over 98% of DNA with us. And a lot of great things happened here between 9:24 p.m. to 10:48 p.m. of December 31 in the cosmic calendar. So there are a few milestones in evolution. Some of us know Lucy, Australopithecus afarensis. Some of us have heard of Homo erectus, who allegedly ran out of Africa. And eventually, through evolution, here comes us. Wise man, Homo sapiens sapiens. But another thing, we tend to forget that for a big part of our existence, we were not the only humans that actually lived. That's right. There was a time up to 10, maybe 50,000 years ago that we lived alongside other human species, literally. So, and even mated with some of them. So these were completely different species from us, like horses mating with donkeys. That's how it was. And we tend to forget that. So Homo sapiens would come across some other human species like the Neanderthals and the Denisovians, and we'd actually mate with them. So much so that parts of their DNA are remnants and live through us. So imagine that, how profound that is. From here, after 1048, this comes to the time when the cosmic calendar basically explodes with cultural evolution. So what do I mean by that? Let's take a little bit of a recap. So imagine that today is December 31 at the stroke of midnight of the cosmic calendar. 3 months ago, on September 14th, that was when the first cells and replicators of life came to existence. 3 days ago was when the first flowers came to life. 1 day ago was when the dinosaurs went extinct and we started to rise. Less than 18 hours ago, the ascent of man, so to speak, started to begin with the earliest primates. Less than 10 hours ago, we were Australopiths. 90 minutes ago was when Homo habilis started to use tools. Around 15 minutes ago was when we domesticated fire. The earlier human species domesticated fire. 8 minutes ago was when modern man came to existence. And these are isolated tribe off the coast of India. This is really how these hunter-gatherers look like today. It's a window of how we were before. Around 8 minutes ago was when modern human language started to come into existence. 2 minutes ago was when the first art, cave paintings, pottery, came into existence. 30 seconds ago was when agriculture came to be, and animal domestication started to go very rapidly. 15 seconds ago was when writing was invented. 10 seconds ago was when the pyramids were built. 6 seconds ago was when Gautama, Confucius, and Euclid spread their wisdom. 5 seconds ago was when Jesus Christ spread his wisdom, the Roman Empire went on its ascent, and the numeral 0 was invented. 4 seconds ago was when Islam came to existence, the Byzantine Empire rose. And it's in the last 2 seconds that the world starts to become something familiar to us. The Mongols had their heyday in Asia. The religious wars in Western Europe, the Crusades, began. The Black Death came and wiped out 40 to 50% of all life in Europe, which paved the way, actually, paradoxically, for the Renaissance, when great ideas and the sort of rebirth of humanism came to be. It was in the last 2 seconds that regular folk like you and me could actually read books. It no longer was something relegated to the elite. In the last 2 seconds, Christopher Columbus got lucky and discovered the Americas. The last 2 seconds, Magellan and Lapu-Lapu wasn't so lucky. In the last 2 seconds, Newton, who was one of the guys that invented calculus, changed fundamentally our understanding of the laws of physics. And it's in the last 1 second that we see the shift from patrimonial to modern states, colonizations on the rise, and many things happened in cultural evolution, politically. So Hamilton and his friends stuck it to King George. On the other side of the world, the French Revolution took a different tone and eventually culminated with the rise of Napoleon. And in the last 1 second, the Industrial Revolution came to be, changing how we understand work, how we understand architecture, how we understand transportation. And it started with the train. Darwin challenged our understanding of biology and turned the world on its head. Marx challenged our notions of sociology and turned that world on its head. And in this last second, growth was even more and more rapid. So Robert Hooke discovered cells, Mendel started genetics, Mendeleev made the periodic table, Thomson discovered the electron. The great inventors had their heyday like Tesla, Edison, Fleming, and Ford, with Henry Ford making the first commercial car. And it was from here that in the last half second, the human race started to really take flight, literally and figuratively. So in the last half second, the Wright brothers invented the airplane. In the last half second, the relativity and quantum mechanics changed fundamentally how everything would be. But alongside this scientific and technological revolution, of course, came the rise of nationalism and great lessons for all of us. Because it's also in this last half second that Mussolini, Hirohito, and Adolf Hitler rose to power with the consent of their people and the human race, essentially. And in the last half second, the world would never be the same again. And in this last half second, the last 60 years or so, something changed. And the world was about to rebuild. So we know what Le Corbusier did. So modernism in its pure heyday came to being. The purity of modernism to build back in the universal manner that it has. It was only then that the United Nations came to be. And we tend to take for granted the fact that everybody knows that states technically have solid lines. We respect sovereignty. That never happened before, prior to the United Nations. We are, of course, benefactors of that to a large degree as well, even if we are also searching and trying to understand our own statesmanship and nationalism as well. A new kind of warfare replaced the old kind of warfare. In the last 1/4 of a second, the Cold War between Russia and the US, and of course Mao joined in, happened. The US to some degree showed us things to aspire to by reaching the moon. But at the same time, the US also showed us how we can fall no matter how far, how high we go. So the Vietnam War was a big reminder of that. But from the 60s onwards, in the last 1/4 second, suddenly the power, the voice of the people started to rise, and we take for granted the different rights revolutions that have happened back then. It was only then that women, African Americans, LGBTIQ, and animals, essentially now, are starting to be put into the spotlight for rights. In the last 1/4 second, the boomers had the reins of the world, the economy. In the last 1/4 second, we started to see each other in a manner of globalization that was hitherto unheard of. And it all skyrocketed, of course, with the work of men like this guy over here, Steve Jobs. In the last instant, suddenly we have satellites all over the world, we're hyper-connected. Suddenly we can mobilize through all sorts of social media. Suddenly we can get degrees online. We can learn from the great masters of the world at no cost to us. In the last half instant, we transcribed and we've come to know the human genome. In the last instant, we found out that we are more microbe than human. In the last instant, we found that the things you experience from the world translates to how the genes in your kids will be activated as well. In the last instant, we've learned that the brain can change itself. We've learned about neuroplasticity because of developments in brain imaging. In the last instant, we discovered that math is true whether we believe it or not. Gravitational waves were computed way before and measured exactly as Einstein predicted. Quantum computing is changing fundamentally how computers are built, even if we don't know exactly how that happened. In the last instant, the fabric of the cosmos is ruptured in our understanding by the discovery of dark matter, by string theory and its related threads of thought. And in the last instant, we have our own challenges for this generation in this world, with the proliferation of artificial intelligence, with climate change, with fundamental advances in science that question personhood, like brain transplants, and with the proliferation of deep fakes that challenge our notion of what is fake and what is real. And that is how we got to where we are today. So the question then is, so I've given you all this information, so where are we now exactly? I'm sure we all have our own sort of assessment of how the world is today. In this Happy New Year that I've shown as we live our lives today, there's this very deep math that has happened, that has brought us to where we are today. Even if we are fixated only on this last 7, and we could be fixated doing many different things. We could spend our time, watching cute cat and dog videos on YouTube, showing us the power and the joy of the internet. But at the same time, we can also experience very well the sadness and despair of the internet, cyberbullying, and the like. We know how all that feels. And it's usually this that we pay attention to, so much so that when we're asked, what do you think of humanity today? What do you think of the world? Well, we have our own very, very strong opinions about it. We feel like the human race is degenerating and the like, and we're in the worst place ever in history because of all the things we see on the news. The question, of course, is, really? Is that true? What does the data really say? So, there are many, many books and peer-reviewed article studies that are out there, but it's not really available to all of us, as clickbait articles are. So I'll just show you a few. How bad is the world today? Well, life expectancy is now around 70 to 80 years old. For most of human history, you would live to be 30 years old. You would die from an infectious disease at 30. How bad is life today? If you were a parent before the 1700s, you would experience majority of your children dying before the age of 5. If you were any living creature at this time, you would see that you would die from famine, probably. I mean, even the sugar crisis in Negros could show us that. If you were living in any other age, you would have probably died in the Great Power War. Prior to 1945, at least 2 major powers in the world would be at war. There would be 2 major wars between 2 of the great powers of the world. After 1945, that never happened. So of course, civil wars are terrible as well, but we tend to forget that those small residual civil wars are nothing compared to the pain and the destruction that have happened as a constant and as a standard for most of human history. The gross world product, of course, skyrocketed in the past 200 years, and you can see the uptick just right here in the last instant. And you might say, yes, but look at inequality, look at how many people are dying getting poorer. Of course, that is true. Or is it? It is true to some degree, but we are in the time in history wherein the relative weight of people not living in extreme poverty and the absolute number of people not living in extreme poverty are going further and further apart. We live in an age where undernourishment, childhood stunting, and the like, starvation, are on the way down, even in parts of Africa. We live in an age where basic education is not accessible to most people. We live in an age where liberal values have started to expand, and these liberal values, of course, translate to a number of things. The fact that we are more caring and understanding of children nowadays compared to before, the ages of corporal punishment. Racist, homophobia, sexist standards have decreased fundamentally by policy and by perception. And what's interesting about this study over here is that it wasn't based on a survey, it was based on big data, so showing the web searches done privately by people as big data. So that's a more reliable assessment. And all in all, and there are definitely exceptions, of course. This isn't for everything, there's still problems. The well-being composite in the life of most people today is better than it has ever been. So if you were to pick one age where you would choose to live as a regular Joe, not a member of the elite, you would pick this age. Okay, you say. So those are really the facts. My question is, why do we think the world is so bad? I'll give you a couple of reasons. One is that if you look at the tone of the news with the rise of the modern economy, you'll find that as the world has been getting better and better and better, the way the news cycle works is that the tone of the news has actually been getting more grim and more grim and more grim and more grim. Primarily because if it bleeds, it leads. If it steers, it sells, and the like. Another reason is that we're fundamentally biased, that we tend to notice quick images and anecdotes and narratives and understand them, and they feel more cogent to us than statistics, pure raw statistics that are so impersonal. That's true. And the third, it's a psychological phenomena, is that, of course, this is an estimate, it varies from 3 to 7, but the point is that it takes a big amount of positive impressions to overcome one negative impression. Because our brains are hyper-vigilant to negatives and threats, obviously that's how we evolve. And so, you will never see a headline nowadays saying, well, 4 billion people didn't die from smallpox this year. And that would have been, millions would have died prior to the discovery of Alexander Fleming's discovery of the eradication of smallpox. We don't say that so many people are not dying of starvation now because Norman Borlaug revolutionized the agricultural process. We're not saying that a little girl who has access to the internet can have a more nuanced and accurate perception of reality than Aristotle, Confucius, or Isaac Newton ever did. And at the same time, this is very, very important. We are in the age when we can do the most good for the world, not only in how we advocate, but even in terms of earning to give. So there's a movement called effective altruism that is found, and you can show it by translating quality of affected life years, how people, no matter what you're doing, if you give a small amount of your income to the most effective charities in the world, you could be saving millions of people, even if it feels impersonal. And of course, you can advocate, and the advocacies that we personally are invested in can change the world. And so, we are in the age where we can reach out and help the most people, right? And ideally, what would happen is this. So, you start out over here. In your earlier years, you develop good habits. Then, this area under the curve represents the amount of good that you will do in the world. And this is essentially what you hope to happen. You go on a steady uptick with its oops. You go on a steady uptick, irregardless of the challenges. You touch many people's lives. But what tends to happen in now this day and age? Usually for us woke millennials, or I don't know if you guys are millennials, but I feel old. The woke iGen, sometimes what happens is that we really want to help the world. But we tend to overreach and burn out in the early years. And we fall down into anxiety, depression, so much so that we're heading to a trajectory where we can't do the good that we want to do. And this is, of course, unfortunate. I know so many high-performing anxieties, people with anxiety and depression. And it gives us a very good perspective if we start to think about the fact that our habitual emotional states are directly related to the amount of good that we can give to the world and what we can do with our lives. Which leads me to the second question for today. After all that, we finally get to, why do we feel bad? And again, I'll be giving a sort of non-conventional answer to this based on what we've seen so far. We'll go back to evolution and take a look at feelings through the process of evolution. So, the process of evolutionary biology and psychology has skyrocketed. Two great guys you should read up on are Charles Darwin, of course, and Robert Sapolsky from Stanford. Brilliant guy. I picked him because he looked the most like Darwin. It's pretty cool. And they basically found that our feelings and behaviors are shaped by evolution to help us survive in the environment we evolved in. So the physical and social environment of the African savannah way back when, in this part of our evolution, that's us. And to answer why do we feel bad, we should also understand how feelings evolved in the first place. So the evolution of feelings happened, of course, after the Cambrian explosion on December 15 of the cosmic calendar. And two great books I suggest you read. if you're interested, are by the neuroscientist Antonio Damasio. And this is jargon, but I'll show you what it means later. So bodies, feelings, and thoughts all evolved in order to allow more complex regulation of homeostasis in complex organisms. So the more complex the organism, obviously, you need more complex regulatory mechanisms, and I'll walk you through that. So you didn't really need a nervous system and little bacteria, of course. They could speak for themselves, they merged together. There were no feelings back then, it was just responses, basically. During the Cambrian explosion, that's when we started to get worms, and worms are very interesting in that, if you think about it, they're just one long stump. And that's very interesting because our digestive systems were, in essence, the first brains. Moving forward in evolution, bilateral symmetry started to develop, and more complex sort of worms started to come out, and hence the nervous system came. And in order to coordinate this more complex organism, there had to be signals that could be sent to tell the executive, hey, oops, this is dangerous, let's get out of here. Hence, feelings started to come to the picture. The simple stimulus responses. As you go even more forward in evolution, it's not just the digestive system and the nervous system. You start to have even more complex systems, respiratory, circulatory, and the like, needing a larger brain and a better hardwiring. And moving forward to us, again, I mentioned that our first brain is our stomachs. And you know the feeling when you have butterflies, you know the feeling when you feel down there, that these two are inextricably related. And the microbes in our gut have a drastic effect of how we feel. So think about that for a while. And so this is essentially what feelings were. They are negotiators in complex organisms telling us, hey, this is dangerous, let's get out. You have to pay attention to this thing and either fight it or flight or freeze. And hence, so we've had the evolution of feelings over here. It's only December 30 and 31 that the evolution of emotions and sentience and thought came to be. And here's a super reductionist crash course on how your brain evolved, taking off from Paul MacLean's triune brain theory. Basically, it says this. So, over evolution, over that big process, our brains have three sort of brains, so to speak. We've got the reptilian brain, which is here at the brainstem, and it regulates automatic processes like breathing, circulation, and the like. When we start to become primates, that's when we start to have the semblance of emotion. So we've got this is when motivational systems start to come out. This is when basic emotions start to come out. And lastly, this is us, higher cognitive functions, thinking about things that don't exist, like abstractions, Mary Poppins, and all that, and any fictions. That's when it comes out there. Right? So this is how it happened. And so again, reptiles know their instincts. And another piece of insight. So chimpanzees are our closest relatives. They started to develop the cortex and the like. And they show us exactly the precursors of humanity, both the good and the bad. Chimpanzees comfort other chimpanzees. They cooperate to do empathic things, but at the same time, mankind is not the only animal that commits genocide. So chimpanzees also premeditate, raid areas. If they find another chimp from the tribe wandering to their area, they'll pin him down, rip out his innards, and be very, very brutal. So again, it gives you a bit of perspective. And here we are, of course, the premeditated thinking man, with brains that have numerous circuits that coordinate and work together in multiple ways to team up and bring us to the places that we want to go. And in essence, we've got this sort of cybernetic loop between the brain and the body, which in truth is a seamless thing, where thoughts and feelings, the signaling back and forth messaging, results in what we interpret subjectively as the mind. And that's how feelings came to be. That's why we feel, essentially. That's why we feel. Well then, why do we feel bad? And to answer this, I'll take the perspective of the model of our teacher in HMI, Dr. George Kappas, Dr. John Kappas, and he's the guy that professionalized hypnotherapy in the United States. And I'll show you his model of how to best understand, or more easily understand the mind. So, experience is held in the mind. And as Freud said, of course, it's a very nice metaphor. You can think of the mind as an iceberg floating in water. So, you've got the conscious mind and subconscious mind. The subconscious mind being hidden under this veil. And you've got the critical filter in between that mediates the information between the two, right? So estimates vary. The point is that the subconscious mind is overwhelmingly more powerful than your conscious mind. And in terms of processing power alone, we can only process 40 bits of information per second in the conscious mind, whereas the subconscious mind can go up to 20 million bits per second, again an estimation. And it's in the conscious mind that we, of course, have the slow, analytical, thoughtful math that we do, whereas the subconscious mind has the fast, emotional realms of feeling and reflex. And so, as we go through the scenery of life, we tend to think that that figure of consciousness, of the conscious mind, is the only thing that exists. But if you come closer and go through the critical filter, you'll see that there is a wide world of subconscious processes that happen. No, wait. A wide universe of subconscious things that happen. And to help you think about how your minds work, I'll introduce something called the message unit. So, picture that every single moment, our brains receive and process countless inputs that we can call message units, right? So, message units are fed into the mind for processing. So, when you get an incoming message unit, many things happen. But the primary structure is that you identify the message unit, you associate something very quickly to it, you give an initial meaning, and then your conscious mind can actually have veto power and say, oh, no, this is how we should really react to this, or you could roll with it and have a behavior. So, for example, let's say you're going home and you want to go home and to the MRT, but then you see this. So we enter the MRT, we see that. So you identify first what's happening there, the crowd, the heat. You automatically associate it very quickly as something like, you say it's a hassle experience. So you have your initial state change, you're annoyed, your blood pressure rises. And then you have the option to give a final meaning to it. And of course, you can go with your feeling and say, the government's not doing anything, it's every man for himself. You push the line, and that's when the behavior comes out, right? So that's how you get from the initial batch of message units to this. Now, the subconscious, all of us have our own different associations. So it's full of positives and negatives and neutrals, and different message units give us different associations. So all of us will have different associations to these four figures up here in front. It could be positive or negative. This could be my reaction to all these four. You might have something different. Your best friend might have something different. But the main point is that how we feel affects how we think in a cybernetic loop, and how we think also affects how we feel. So we can fan the fire, or we can choose a different direction at any point here. And this entire process affects what we do, whether it's resourceful or whether it's destructive. And through time, this is how things go. So we've got external and internal message units that feed into this process. But who are we really, if you think about it, given that our subconscious, which is not the realm of free will, is actually very large? Well then, we can start to say that who we truly are, our identity, is what we habitually think and feel. So what we habitually do, that's who we are. And a wonderful book I think you guys can read is The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. I think it's wonderful. So again, it can be sort of disheartening to think that the domain of our free will is up here when the majority of our internal drives and feelings are down there seeking to protect you, because not all of these things are actually good for our well-being. So for instance, were largely some of the habits we developed. So let's say that you've got a friend who says that he will stop smoking because objectively he feels that it's not good for him, not good for his health. So he's very, very adamant about that. But once message units from familiar triggers start to come in, a coffee place, being very full, out with friends, oops, you know what's going to happen, right? So it's going to be very, very, very hard to combat that, to the point that, it's very, very hard to change very, very deeply ingrained habits. And the reason is because habits are very energy efficient, so that's why our bodies love them. So we cling to them on a very deep physiological level. To demonstrate, when you do something for the first time, your brain is expending a lot of resources trying to do it. It's very tiring, you burn a lot of glucose. Whenever you learn the skill, you know how that is the first time you've ever drove. But once it becomes a habit, what happens is that you only need to use willpower here to identify that, this is something I've done before. Then your brain goes into smooth sailing. You forget the drive. And then it perks up again once the reward might come. So that's how it works. Alright. And I like to use the case of Eugene Polly. It's a very famous case because it demonstrates how this deep subconscious process gives us so many cues that we're not aware of how drastically it actually affects our behavior. So, let's meet Eugene Polly. So he was a 71-year-old man, and he had this common case of viral encephalitis, and he basically lost function in a part of his brain. And this part of his brain was the one that gives us the capacity to form new memories. So the doctors were able to cure the disease, but of course the damage had been done. So every moment after that was new to him. He would forget each moment a minute or so after it finished. And he would constantly repeat words and actions he had done the minute before. So imagine that, living literally in the moment for every single moment of your life. He also lost memories of things that happened after 1960. So he completely didn't know what a computer was every single time he saw it. But he couldn't recognize any of his grandchildren. Eventually, Eugene was allowed to go back home with his wife, and they would try and live normal lives one moment at a time. Together, they'd watch his favorite shows. If the TV was left on, Eugene would sit glued for hours because obviously it would be new for him each time. He'd take regular walks around the neighborhood, a new experience each time, and for his health, they did it every day. So this is important. So every day they go for a walk. They would go home, and Eugene could still cook his favorite foods like bacon and eggs, and he could also bathe and do other menial tasks. But so Eugene's doctors would come and do regular visits, and they discovered some very weird behaviors, quote unquote, that Eugene was doing. He would cook bacon and eggs over and over, even if he had just done so, for as long as he saw the same cues in the kitchen, like bacon and eggs in the refrigerator. And there was a time when Eugene's wife was preoccupied during the time slot of the daily walk. Without probing, he just went out, and it's only later that he came back, all by himself, just because of the habit cues from the environment. He was also asked to draw a map of the house by his doctors, but he couldn't. He absolutely couldn't. But yeah, he had no idea where he was in the house, even the kitchen and the bathroom. But he would suddenly get up, walk directly to the toilet and use it, walk back into the living room, all while not knowing anything about where it was. So how did a man without memory get to do this? And basically the reason is that the habit center of his brain was not damaged by the viral infection, which is a separate system from conscious memory, and all it needs are simple cues for you to go to autopilot without expending drastic energy. So remember this. So conscious and subconscious mind, this is driven largely by the habits that he developed. So much so, and it's so sensitive that when Eugene would try and go on his daily walk by himself, if one small thing changed in the environment, like a billboard, or the color of the trash can, or the season, he would be completely lost and not know where to go because of the loss of the habit cues. They were that sensitive until a friendly neighborhood troll would come and bring him back home. And Eugene's fantastic story tells us something very profound, and it's that what we habitually think and feel, we become. Again, repeating that. Which leads us to the last point of my talk. How then can we feel better? And this is a multifaceted question. I'm sorry to give you a downer, but today I won't be talking about miracle cures, quick hacks for you to finally have meaning and drive and motivation to do everything you've ever wanted and follow your dreams. I won't do that. Basically, I'll tell you the real truth, and it's that if you want to go somewhere, if we want to go somewhere, it will be from the daily efforts that we do in things that matter. And again, if we're framing it in terms of message units, the question that I want to ask, which is more conducive to the time that we have, is what are the most significant everyday message units that affect how we feel? There are many. I've made it sort of a bit of an obsession of mine to study everything from attention, awareness, alignment, diet, digestion, exercise, all that. So multifaceted, it's all multifaceted, environmental cues and the like. But today, I just like to focus on two little fractals of that I've found are very profound and very important for everyone. And I picked them because we can do it anywhere. So those that have watched my Pechacucho talk, you might know what they are. Number one is how you use your attention. So I'll be showing you some life hacks on how to use it more effectively. The second, very profound, is how you breathe. But before we go a little bit deeper into that, I feel obligated to give you a little rundown of other things that you might be missing. So here's a crash course in feeling better, things that you probably, if you're like most people, you've neglected for some parts of your life. And you stay hydrated because even a bit of hydration is enough to decrease cognitive capacity by 20%. When you don't get enough protein, which is very, very, very important, and a lot of people that do crash diets feel the brain fog because they lack the other essential amino acids that your body can produce. Another pitfall of modern life is that we don't get enough omega-3s, so our omega-3 and omega-6 ratios are totally off whack. So eating fatty fish is a very good idea. We don't get enough probiotics, so again, 90% of our serotonin is made by the bacteria in our gut, and if we don't feed them with things that allow them to survive, serotonin, the chill sort of feeling is more out of reach to us. The food of these gut bacteria are fruits and vegetables, fiber, very important to get that. And another thing is that Vitinoids are notorious for this. Yes, we are. When you have something very insulinogenic, after a while it crashes. You have to have sugar again. It's a yo-yo. So you're full of energy and then you're down. Full of energy and you're down. When you want to be steady, right? You want to be constant. And lastly, and this is something I'm very passionate about because the benefits of exercise is not, it's not just to lose weight or what have you. Basically, our bodies are built to move. Our lymphatic system, circulatory system, muscular system, myofascial system, everything was predicated on the fact that we have to move a little bit every day. And last, very important, I know RT students sleep is for the weak. I feel you bros, sisters, but we do need sleep. And it's drastically improved. It's of drastic benefit to your mood, especially REM sleep. So, because I'm a nerd, here are two different sleep trackings that I had last year. And what's very interesting is that they might have had the same absolute amount of sleep, but the amount of REM, restful sleep, was very different from a non-stressful night versus a stressful night. Think about it. And the math. So based on my education in hypnotherapy, I will give you two very practical skills that you can practice wherever you are that can help you when you're starting to feel a bit down. So, the first is directing your attention, and the second is directing your breathing. So the first, directing your attention. Hopefully I can give you some insight from this. Here's a bit of a crash course. So, when you direct your attention, remember how we evolved? It's the high cognitive process. It's a top-down sort of thing. So when you say, don't feel bad, don't feel bad, don't feel bad, you're using willpower to tell your body to follow a certain thing. So it's more energy intensive, but there's a way to make it more energy efficient. So again, our brains evolved to constantly think about threats or survival during idle periods. It's literally called our brain's default mode. And it's very important when you're being chased by a lion and you can't see it anymore. But now, it just translates to worries about social issues, right? Our brains also cannot tell the difference between a real experience and something vividly imagined. That's primarily why sports hypnosis is really very good, so all the top athletes use it. At the same time, when you ruminate and play something over and over in your head, you're basically telling your brain that this actually happened, even if you just imagined it. Okay. Here's where we get a little bit technical, but bear with me, it will be very practical. So our minds, obviously, if you've ever had a thought, produce movies in our 5 sensory modalities. So visual, auditory, kinesthetic, gustatory, and olfactory. So sight, sound, touch, smell, taste, right? But usually it's visual, auditory, kinesthetic. And you'd be surprised to know that if you've seen the Avengers when Tony Stark talks to Jarvis or Friday, he has his interface over here. We actually have that as well to a certain degree. So you can look up neuro-linguistic programming if you're interested. Basically it's this. There's some evidence that shows that this could be flipped for depending if you're right-handed or left-handed. But the main thing is that when you think about a certain thought, or when you place something in your mind where you're focusing on a certain modality, when you're hearing a negative voice, it comes from here. When you're feeling a bad feeling, it comes from here. When you're imagining something that doesn't exist, or remembering something that happened visually, it happens up there. And when you're thinking about auditory stuff, it happens in line with this. Why is this important? Because this is the default place or zone that we access using our neck top. If we don't want to access the degrading self-talk in the moment, one way to help that is to keep your attention up and imagine yourself and orient yourself in space. Spatial thinking and spatial awareness in that manner, and keeping your attention upwards is one way to keep yourself going down there. And of course, if the thought is really distressing, it's a big challenge. But for most of the everyday little annoyances, this helps very much. So eyes up, orient yourself in space. Now, we talked about sensory modalities like visual, auditory, kinesthetic. Each of these sensory modalities has something we call submodality. Basically, that means a submodality of any visual experience is the brightness of the picture, the size, vibrancy, so much so that these two are the same images, right? One is more striking, the other isn't. What happened? Basically, you shrink it, you turn it around, you distort it, you pixelate it, and when you do that with any mental movie that comes up in your brain, it's like you're taking it out, changing it, and restarting it back into your memory. Over time, over repetitions, a distressing thought will be less of a distressing thought. So for example, let's say that you have this irrational movie that comes out in your mind. Maybe there's a teacher before that told you, you can't do it, you're worthless, you can't do it. What you can do, again, using what you've learned here, is that you could, from that big picture, and you'll notice that when you think about it, I've been thinking about this thing with a huge, bright picture. What if I shrink it, pixelate it, put it down there, and imagine instead that teacher transforming into Barney. So instead of, you can't do it, you worthless little, you can't do it, you worthless little, and it changes everything. Because that humor breaks the pattern. it breaks the neural circuit. And if you did a brain imaging study, you could literally see the transformation of the neural wiring from that little thought. Amazing. Easier said than done, I know, but that's the principle of it. So, of course, if you have any deep traumas or deep mental illness, you have to go to a specialist, definitely. That's where you should go, a medical doctor. But, again, you can use the changing of submodalities. So if you want to imagine yourself being successful, really make that picture bright, really hear the people screaming or motivating you. If you don't want something to be distressing you, so make it small, pixelate it, move it away, imagine you're the god of thunder, vaporize it, explode it, and it's gone. Do it over and over, and it will change how that thought is stored in your brain. So yeah, you could transform this to that. And so again, we can change our mental movies by taking charge as the director. So by managing the location of your attention and altering the content of the submodalities, you can transform distressing thoughts or strengthen empowering thoughts. And it's a skill that's strengthened by willing practice over time, thousands of repetitions. I know it's hard work, but when you experience the benefits, it's really life-changing. Okay. The second one is slightly different because if you recall, managing your attention is top-down, right? It's an executive function. You're literally changing the thing. You can also go the other way, called bottom-up. So when you do breath work, you're just sending a small impulse of willpower down there and letting the body transform itself. Why is that? Because your breathing manages, and how you breathe says a lot about the oxygenation of your blood, the hormones that are released, and your blood pH. Just ask Wim Hof, multiple world record holder, search him, really cool guy. He climbed Everest naked because of how he breathes. So think about that. But one thing, out of the many ways that your breathing affects how you are, the one thing that I'd like to focus on is the fact that when you inhale, you're affecting the part of your nervous system that's arousing you, stimulating you, and when you exhale, you're stimulating the part of your nervous system that relaxes you. So it's very important that both of those things happens. However, a lot of us we stay in that, when we do our shallow breathing, and I'll get to that later, we stay in the arousal mode. So I'm going to give you 2 breathing patterns that can help. Number 1 is to accentuate the exhale. I'm sure you've heard it before, super duper important. Do it for 5 minutes, you'll feel better. Promise. So, as a general rule, you want your exhale to be, if you do relaxation breathing, at least ×2 of your inhale, right? But me, personally, I like doing ×3. Sometimes I've worked my way up to do 1 breath a minute, that kind of thing, but you can start with. Another method, so we've talked about relaxation breathing, which is basically accentuating the exhale. Another kind of breathing, which I find really cool, is called coherent breathing. Now, of course, I can't get into the science of the natural oscillator intrinsic in every cell, but what I'll say is this. When you breathe, it also has something to do with how your heart functions, right? And you can breathe in such a way that your heart rate variability is in an optimal level, so much so that relaxation, arousal. It's called heart coherence. Normally, when you do anxious breathing, what happens is you stay up here because you are inhaling, shallow exhale, inhale, shallow exhale, so you stay aroused. Rather than you keep it constant, and the amplitude goes like that. What is the optimal way to breathe coherently? Well, technically it's 5 breaths per minute, but because it's easier to time yourself on a watch with 5 seconds, I suggest 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. So 6 breaths per minute, 5 seconds inhale, 5 seconds exhale. So breath work is very good because, again, it doesn't use a lot of willpower. So if you're really feeling down and the voices really aren't conducive and you try to change the submodalities but you just can't, it's very difficult that day, focus on your breath. Do it for a few minutes, very, very helpful. It doesn't take additional willpower. and it fixes the moment from here upwards, right? So very often, a few long relaxation breaths will make an immediate difference. And so, out of all this, out of all the talk about dark matter and all the talk about evolution and the like, this is basically my take-home message to you guys. Again, life isn't fair many times. There's a lot of suffering, but a lot of joy, a lot of success as well. And at the end of the day, if you fuse these two together, one last thing that I will tell you, and it works very well if you're prayerful as well, is to start a meditation practice, since it sort of infuses the two things. So I won't talk about the multiple benefits of meditation that are now so documented because of neuroimaging studies. So if you take people that have meditated for 8 weeks versus people that have meditated for 1,000 hours versus 10,000 hours, the traits of the 10,000 hours guys are I'm blown away. So, but you don't have to, subscribe to a paid meditation app. You can just do mindfulness, starting with one mindful breath a day, or 5 minutes, or work yourself up to 10 minutes. It makes an enormous difference. So mindfulness is just basically a non-judgmental awareness, breathing in, noticing what comes to your mind. I'll give you a book. There's no right or wrong thoughts in mindfulness. I'll give you a wonderful book that you can start with, and it's this one over here. It's the book I started with maybe 5 years ago. It's wonderful, and it actually was one of the books that launched my interest in hypnosis and all that. So search inside yourself by Jay Penkan. It's wonderful. And hopefully, the load can alleviate itself a little bit. Doing all these things isn't, just anecdote. There's evidence showing that basically doing these practices can change your brain to a certain degree in terms of neuroplasticity. The emotional states or emotional hardwiring of your brain can change over time. And even things like epigenetic tags can be affected by long habitual practice. And this is a great book for those of you that are more into, more metaphysical explanations, merged with science. Dr. Joe Dispenza. And over time, it's a long and arduous process. It's a habit loop. It's practice, but you'll get there. And it's a continuing journey that we are all on. And what's very interesting is that, so this is from the research of Richie Davidson. Basically, if you have a spectrum of different emotional styles, he characterizes them as such, over time, even as little as well, not necessarily 8 weeks, but over time, you can move from that spectrum and have the brain changes to do it. And so, after all that, I've come to the end of my talk, which is a very strange way to put it, since that technically cannot exist, the end of something, the end of your talk. Anyway. So we've gone through this today, guys. We've talked about who you are in the grand scheme of things. We've talked about biological and physical evolution and where we are in terms of that. We've talked about the evolution of feelings and thoughts, we've talked about cultural evolution and where we are in that. We've talked about the evolution of feelings and thoughts and why our feelings are there to help us, but sometimes are anything but. And lastly, I've given you 2 very, very simple practices that if you do it over the long term, of course it won't change the world, but it will definitely help you in your everyday life. So, hopefully, for some days of your life, any of the practices here will help you turn this into this. And so, I challenge you, and this leads to the next talk, of course. There's a lot that you can advocate for and help with. I hope this will happen to all of us. And no matter who your family is, the people you surround yourselves with, I hope that you can help those that you lead. I hope you can reach out and help those that you have no business helping. I hope that you join a movement that is bigger than yourself. I hope that you pay attention to the million dreams that keep you awake and join teams that can help you save the world. And no matter what your profession is, you'll be working with a lot of different professionals. The one thing I will say is that At the end of the day, we're all in this together. Thank you.
Thank you so much.